Richard Wolff is trying to reach TikTokers. It's time to cancel him. Dude, do we need to do this? Is this the secret? I saw this. This was pretty funny.
Labor, the activity of work, is considered to be negative. In the language of economics, it's a disutility. Labor is something you don't want to do. Well, then why does labor happen? Why do people work? Answer: so they can consume. Notice the story. You endure labor.
I hate that it works. It doesn't work for me. I don't understand this. I literally have ADHD. I have no idea. This does not in any way. Okay.
A bad thing to get the good thing, consumption. That's what we teach people. But of course, that's not necessarily true. If the workplace were made a place of beauty, a place where you have lots of time to interact with your fellow workers, where relationships are built and nurtured and celebrated, you'd love to go to work. There's no reason that your joys, your needs are not met at work. What a crazy idea to say work is awful. Don't expect anything from it. You know what the compensation is for
This person fucking sucks at the runner game, man.
work? It's what we teach in economics. Consumption. You get to go after work to the mall. And there you're supposed to fill yourself up with goods and services to compensate you for the unpleasantness of work. That's how we teach people. And you know, that's a reflection of what work.
Fuck. No, it's not working because I'm barely listening to what he's saying. It's not working. And no, it's not. It's just, I just look at the gameplay because I'm thinking I could do better. I'm not, it makes it harder for me to pay attention to him. It's fucking distracting, man. Skill issue? Yeah, I guess. Your editors have done the same shit with your YouTube shorts? Good. I hope they do it. Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff, man. What's the term reproductive labor? One of the biggest red pills for me when it came to critiquing capitalism is the fact that housekeeping and child rearing is not socially compensated. Like, if you think about it, like on an individual level, capitalism is about, you know, free commerce and the, you know, currency to exchange, like, buy people's labor and blah, blah, blah. But on a social level, the whole point of capitalism is an incentive structure so that necessary social labor gets performed, and you develop, you know, those financial models as a way of making sure that gets done, right? Like, so under capitalism, it's like, okay, well, if society needs something, then people will attempt to meet that need, and their incentive for doing so is the profits that they will receive when people who need that thing will pay for it, right? Like, that's the whole point. But for some reason, the two, like two of the most necessary things that we do socially receive no compensation, which is to say raising children and keeping the home clean. And the reason for that is because historically it's something that we just expect the women do without any kind of compensation. But then if you think about it for a second, isn't this kind of, and I apologize for like the overstatement of terms, but I think it's actually quite fitting if you think about it, it's a kind of socially mandated slavery. If conservatives are comfortable calling it slavery for doctors to work under a Medicare for all system, then I'm perfectly comfortable saying, you know, why is it that some socially necessary labor is essentially subsidized through a social expectation that a particular class of people just do it for free, you know? Like, why? Like why is that? You know? Why is that being done? And you could say, well, they're being compensated because if they're not working out, they're working back at home. You know, they get like a rent, they get food and stuff. And then that's just the same argument we make with slavery, where it's like, okay, they don't get paid in wages, they get paid in their health care and in their lodgings and in their food. And for a long time in America and in many places around the world today, there isn't even like a choice involved, which I think the slavery argument gets even more apt. Why aren't these forms of labor compensated for? And what's more, what does it mean about our systems of social incentive that it's possible for such vital labor to be performed without a financial incentive? Like, wouldn't that suggest there are other socially necessary functions that might be fulfilled with some kind of social compulsion or incentive? Why exactly is that the case? You know, why are we relying on child raising, which is so necessary a system, when every other element of child raising is managed through some kind of capitalist financial mode, like, say, teaching them or feeding them? That's done through systems, broadly, that people get compensated for. So why does the role of being the child rearer at home suddenly mean that, oh, well, you're just expected to do it? You know, like, okay, why? And why have we created a set of legal structures to legitimize that? Because it's called child neglect if you don't raise your children. It's a crime to not feed your kids. Okay, so rather than employ the capitalist logic of paying for labor, instead, we socially mandate an entire class of people do it for free in exchange for non-wage compensation sometimes. And then, for some reason, we've created legal structures to bind them to that role. I don't have anything against parents being charged with child neglect if they fail to take care of their children, but it does make you wonder about the inflexibility of the financial model for incentivizing some social behavior. You know? It makes you wonder, how much other stuff could you potentially incentivize outside of a capitalist system? And also, what does it say about our relationship with women historically, that they have been excised from the capitalist mode of production in this specific sense? What is it about the home that precludes this mode of financial incentive? Like, why is it separate? There are no real answers to these questions, I think, without some kind of socialist analysis being performed. Though I do think libertarians sometimes have answers to these, but their answers are psychotic. Like, we actually should leave all of this to the financial structure and you should be able to, like, sell your children or whatever, which, Hayek did advocate for. What rate would you imagine women would get paid for reproductive labor? Okay, let me put it this way, in the simplest possible way. Conservatives are pro-capitalism, right? Nominally. Why are conservatives against the state paying mothers for having children? Because that's a form of welfare. In fact, conservatives will often rail against that because they'll talk about, like, welfare queens, like black women having 18 children, this thing that doesn't happen, just to get the money for it. Why are so if having children is socially necessary and also something that we're literally on the decline of, we have, like, we don't have an internally reproducible population curve. We use immigration to shore that up. You'd think that more so than ever, it would be socially necessary to incentivize having children. And yet, they're against the very simple capitalist logic of, what if we just paid people to have children? Why? I don't think there are any answers to this that you can get to without some kind of socialist analysis. The Nazis gave preferential loans to couples that had loads of kids. Yeah, that's true. They certainly did. But the Nazis were, of course, not fully capitalist. There were elements of, fascist politic that extended beyond the capitalist profit motive. Even if they privatize heavily, there are things that supersede that market interest. Same with China, right? China has a fairly laissez-faire capitalist system in most ways, but in a lot of ways, they are also utterly subservient to the whims of the state.